Well, hi. We're in Central Florida. My name's Bob Stonewater. I've been fishing Central Florida waters for over 35 years for bass. And I've been guiding full-time now for over 20 years. And this little small pond here has a real good population of bass in it. And I brought us here today to show you a little bit about some live bait fishing and some techniques that might help you on your artificial fishing. I know everybody has more of an opportunity to artificial fish than they do live bait fish, so I'm going to try to relate a lot about what I know about live bait fishing, which will help you with your artificial fishing. And this is just any small lake in Central Florida or anywhere in the country seems to have bass in it, but I know that this particular lake has quite a few bass in it because I can sit here and see them swimming in the water. So I think our chances of catching a few are pretty good. Now what I want to show you, I can see a few fish here in the water, and I'm going to throw the bait probably about 6 foot through above the water, and it's going to land about 8 to 10 foot out there, and you'll be able to see the wakes of the bass going to it as it hits the water. And this is just to show people how well the fish can see through the water and out of the water. And then I'll give you a few tips and some ideas about artificial fishing once you see this happen. All right, we have a bait, we're going to throw it right now, and we see if we can get these fish to follow it through the air. Of course, you can see that they just charged right out there and ate it just as soon as it hit the water. And that just shows you how well the fish can see through the water. Now, one thing, when I do a lot of artificial fishing and a lot of flipping, sometimes you're fishing water that is only 8 and 10 foot from you as you're standing there. And I noticed one thing that helps me a lot in getting more strikes and catching fish is not doing a lot of quick moving in the boat while I'm fishing that water right around me and right in front of me, because I know the fish can see me and they can detect that movement. Now, I've had fish come after my live bait shiners, had them chase them towards the boat, and I've had my clients get excited and stand up real quick, and the fish will turn away from the boat just like that, and the strike is over. I want to show a few people a little bit about hook setting techniques. And the hook set, of course, in order to have good hook sets, you have to have a lot of strikes. So you always want to be fishing in an area where some fish are. But I want to show you, because these type of hook sets really help you on your artificial fishing too. It helps you with your plastic worms and your jigs, which are two lures that you really have to set the hook hard with. And we're going to take a bait out of the bucket here. And first, let me show you a little bit of something here on just an idea of what we're going to be doing. I'm going to hook a hook right here on the side of the bucket. All right. Now, when you're fishing a plastic worm, you're fishing with your rod tip up in the air like this most of the time. That's in order to feel the strike. And when you feel the fish, then you kind of want to ease down with the pressure of the fish, lower your tip a little bit so you can get a good hook set on him, because it's hard to jerk from real high up here. So you want to ease on down with him and then nail him. And I'll show you a little bit about what we're talking, how that works here on live bait fishing too. And you'll see that it's basically the same thing. Bass swallow everything they eat, if it's of any size, head first. Because a lot of the species they eat, like brim and bluegill, they even eat catfish. They have fins on them that'll stick up in the air like this and won't go down backwards. So they have to turn them and swallow them head first. But I like to hook them in the lips here, real nice, not too deep, so you don't want to go into their head or you'll kill them. Now on the hook set, what we're trying to do is we're trying to jerk the hook actually out of the shiner and into the fish. You want to get it completely free from the shiner, because when he swallows it, the hook will be laying there just like this, and no hook exposed to hook the fish. That's why you want to get a snatch out of that shiner and into the fish. And we'll throw him out there and we'll let him go with it a little bit after he takes it. And I'll show you. We'll just kind of flip him out here like this, and he'll hit the water and take off. All right, one's on there right now. And we're going to lock it in gear and ease on down and then set the hook. Whoa, boy. That was a nice one. That's just the way it's supposed to work too. Fight this fish here. Oh, that looks like a nice bass. As he's screaming a little bit through the water here. Oh, I'll try to keep the tension on the fish, whichever way he turns. Nice jump there, and we'll slide him in here. Okay, that's a nice one. In this situation here, I'm using a barbless hook. I purposely do that because I don't want to hurt the fish. That way I can just reach in there and slide that hook backwards, and it just comes right out real nice and easy. Whew, hardly had a chance to talk much about that one. That's a pretty fish. It looks like about a 4 to 5 pounder. We'll go ahead and let that go, and I'll show you a little bit on some hook sets again, just what I'm trying to talk to you about. That one hit so quick I didn't have much of a chance to really get ready for him. All right, we'll let him go and we'll catch another one here for you. I have to get another bait though. We'll just flip him right out here. There seems to be some fish working right out here. There's a hit. Lock it in gear. Get him! Whoa, oh, we got one here, folks. Oh boy. Oh, this one really caught me off guard here. Nice fish. Nice bass. Holy cow. Boy, look at her shaking that old head, trying to get that hook out of there. Oh, yeah, I do like this bass fishing. Well, that's a pretty fish. Oh, we'll ease her on in here. Reach down here. Yeah, now there's a nice bass right there. You're looking at a 7-pound plus bass there. A good 22, 23-inch fish. And then once again, the hook just slides right out, just so nice and easy. The fish would just barely hook there in the skin, like right here in the edge of the skin. And without that barb, that hook just slides out just like that, so nice and easy. Fish isn't harmed a bit, just a beautiful bass. Good 7-pound fish. Well, I guess we'll have to throw her back here and get another bait out of the bucket and see if we can do this again. This is kind of fun catching them. I like catching fish. Of course, that's one of the bonuses about fishing and catch and release, is you can let this fish go and catch her again. Next time you catch her, she might be 8, 9, 10 pounds. And away she goes. All right, we'll get another bait and try it again. Okay, we just caught that nice fish. I was getting ready to bait up again, and every time before I get another bait, I always feel the line above the hook for little nicks, because bass have rough teeth inside their mouth, and you always want to check this little area right through here, because that's, once they swallow the bait, their mouth is closed on the line right about here. And as you're fighting that fish, she's shaking her head back and forth, and I can feel all kinds of nicks and scratches and cuts in that line. And this is only 17-pound test, not real heavy, but it's just good enough for catching these fish in this open water with no heavy structure. And so we're going to retie this, and I want to show you what kind of knot I use. It's called a Palomar knot. And we'll cut this line here first. Get the old line off of there. And cut back a little bit. Make sure you get into the good line. Okay, now I like this knot. As you live bait fishing, you want to set the hook pretty hard to get that hook out of the shiner and into the fish. And this knot really does well. I use it in worm fishing and my jig fishing too, plastic worms and jigs. Now, what works real good, the way I tie it best, is I just push the line through the eye first, all right, and I pull it back like this, and then I go back through the eye again, the same way that I came in. Sometimes it's kind of, on a small-eyed hook, you have to kind of work it in there a little bit to get it in. All right, there we got it in. And so you can see, all I've done here is I have my double line through my eye of my hook. All right, and then you take that double line, and all you do is tie a single overhand knot across that eye of that hook. Just a basic old single knot. Just like that right there, okay? Now you have your double line still and your double line on that end. Now on this end you've created a loop. What you do is you turn the hook and bring it back through that loop like that. Then I kind of pull the loop up just a little bit, keep it above the hook. And then you want to grab the single strand of line and just pull that on down like that, and that's what they call the polymer knot. And that is a great knot for hook set. I've never had that line break on setting hooks on all size bass. So I just wanted to show you how to tie that knot because it's been a good knot for me. Now we'll get another bait out of the bucket and we'll catch another bass. Okay, you know, we just might get one even bigger than that 7-pounder that we just caught. We'll keep trying here and see what we can catch. I noticed that the sides of the shiners are getting a little bigger. Like here's a nice pretty one, probably about 6-8 inches. And look at that gold color reflection on there. That's what they call these golden shiners. There's about 7 different species of shiners. Shiners are a fish of their own. And they're, like I said, they're all over the United States. So let's put him out here. Now all we're doing is just kind of putting him out here in the open water. And we're being very loose and we're letting him swim around, trying to make him look as natural as he can. Okay, now I'm just fishing with it totally loose like this. And I kind of just watch my line and get a little feel. I can tell if I'm getting a hit. That's the shiner. Ooh, look at that roll out there. He's after it. Oh, look at him hitting it. Oh, he got it. All right, now we're going to hold the tip up in the air like this and wind up nice and slow. He might have actually got the bait off the hook. Let's see. Yeah, he knocked that shiner right off the hook. We didn't get him. He hit it so hard that he knocked it right off the hook. We better get another bait and see what happens. I think they're still feeding. All right, we got a few fish working in here real close. I just want to see if I can get one of them to hit without throwing the bait out too far. Now, I'm using a line color which matches the color of the water pretty much, so it doesn't show up much in the water. The water is kind of a greenish tint, and my line is a greenish tint. So I like to try to make it hide as best as I can. And I'll get into that a little bit. It's something I call balancing your tackle to each situation that you're fishing. There's a nice bass right there. Let's just see if we can get him to take the bait. Ooh, he got it already. Oh yeah. Oh, that was neat. Threw it right in front of him and he just came right up and took it. Oh, that's a nice fish too. Holy cow. Slide him in here. Holy cow, folks. Well, I believe that worked. And you can see how the shiner's laying in their head first. That's the way they eat them. All right, these barbless hooks here just come right out of here so easy. Just like that right there. Doesn't harm the fish a bit. Oh, there's another pretty 5-pound fish we just caught. In fact, we sight fished him. We saw him swim by and I flipped the bait right out in front of him and caught him. You know, they're hitting so good, I think we better get another bait out of the bucket and just keep catching fish. You know, that's part of the fun of fishing. I was getting into the balancing of the tackle situation. And I try to, we'll let this bass go. Oh, that's a beautiful fish. That's a good 6-pound fish. All right, we're going to throw this used shiner out here. And another thing I want to get into in a little bit about weak bait versus your live bait. Now these fish will hit a weak bait with no hook in it. But you put a hook in this bait and they're probably not going to take it. Let's just throw it out there like this and see if they take it. Yeah, they took that pretty quick right there. You know. Now the size of the hook I'm using is not a large hook. This is only a 2/0 hook. But I'm not using real big shiners. If I was to use a real large shiner, I'd go to at least a 6/0, 7/0, or an 8/0 hook. And if I go to a real small shiner, I'll go down to a number 1 or a 1/0 hook. And then on the smaller shiners, I use the lighter line, even down to 10 and 12-pound test line. And that helps you at what I call balancing the tackle. That lets your bait fish swim. If you're using lures, you balance your tackle with the type of lures you're using too. If you're using your small lures, your small worms, little jigs, then you want to use your lighter line. It gives your bait more action and you can cast it better. The same thing with live bait fishing. It really helps you with your live bait because they can act more natural. The whole thing, even if it's a lure or a live bait, is you're trying to let that bait act as natural as it possibly can. That's what's going to trick those fish. Last time I noticed I had a little nick on my line, but this time I noticed I've got quite a few nicks from the fish's teeth from swallowing those shiners and shaking his head on that line there. We got to retie it because we're liable to get a big old 10, 12 pounder hit, and I'd sure hate to miss that fish on account I didn't retie my line. So we'll go ahead and retie it here real quick. We're going to be using that same knot again, that polymer knot. It hadn't broke yet. We've been hitting these fish pretty good and hard too. This isn't a real heavy line. I talked you through this once. We'll try it again here. We'll run that line through that eye there, if I can find it. Yeah, that's through it. All right, go through there once like that. Then you want to go back through the opposite way that you went through the first time. I got to lower my rod here a little bit. Give me some slack line. Okay, there. Go back through there. Sometimes it's the eyes are so small that it's hard to get that line through there. Okay. Now we've got the line doubled through the hook. Just the hook just hanging there on that doubled line. All right, you tie a simple overhand knot with your two double lines right over the top of the eye of the hook, and then just pull it down like that. Okay. Then now you've created a loop on this one end here. Just take your hook and run it right back through that loop like that. All right, now I kind of lift the hook loop up out of the way. The reason I do that, I'll show you. Then I pull on the single strand. That's the one you want to pull it tight with. Then it won't curl your other line. But all hooks have a little slot right there where the eye is bent around. That's why I hold that eye, the loop of that line up like that when I pull it tight, or else sometimes it'll get stuck in there and it'll nick your line when you're pulling it tight. So I always try to keep it away from that one little spot there on the hook. All right, we're ready to go again. Cut that line and try this again. Now the pole I'm using here is a nice 6.5 foot straight handled rod, but you can see that it's real nice and stiff. Would be one you'd want to worm fish with. See, the action that it has is only in the tip of the rod. It stops bending right about 2/3 of the way down the rod, right there. And that gives you the hook set needed. If your rod is too limber, when you jerk, the rod will just bend and you won't get the penetration of the hook. And that's something you want to watch for when you're worm fishing. That's why the professional fishermen that you watch, myself included, we have different rods for all different types of fishing. Each lure on your artificial lures, your topwater plugs and your crankbaits, you want to have a softer tipped rod, so that when the fish hits that crankbait real hard and you hook him, if he makes those hard runs, it won't pull those small treble hooks out. The rod will bend, it'll keep him hooked like that, and it'll give when the fish makes those hard runs. It'll give like that and keep that hook penetrated in the fish. If your rod was too stiff, he'd make a hard run and he'd snatch himself free and pull right off that treble hook. That's why we use so many different rods. Balancing your tackle is something I mentioned earlier, and that's something you do with artificial bait or live bait. We're going to get another shiner out of the bucket because they're hitting on shiners today. We'll see if we can get one of those bigger fish to hit. Last time we did that, we had one that just took it right off of the hook. He hit it so hard that he actually knocked it right off of the hook. I'm using like I said, a barbless hook earlier so we can release the fish without hurting him. But he hit it so hard he knocked it right off the hook. There wasn't a barb to hold the bait on there, so that also didn't work real well. But it's much better to be able to release the fish unharmed. We'll throw him out there a little bit. Ooh, I see some going after him already. I don't know if you noticed those wakes when we cast it out there. All right, now if I want to see if I have one or not, I'll lift this tip up like this, start tightening up slowly. I feel the shiner working. Ooh, I feel a bite right there. Let's see if he got it. Oh, look at him after it there. Shiner jumping and running all over the surface out there. He's running from the fish. Oh, he's running hard. That's why you want a real good active bait so he can take off like that. That makes that fish think there's nothing wrong with him. He might have got him that time. No, there he is on the surface right there. I don't know if he got him or not. I think nope. Yeah, he did. Okay. Lock it in gear. Pull tight. Shut the hook. Whoa! That one caught me off guard. I think we missed that one. We better bring it back in and start over. That was wild. Okay, I want to show you something here on the shiner. And the next bass we catch, I'll show you too. You can get a view here of how this shiner is scraped like this, going right up this side like this. Real clean scrape, no scales there. And he's also scraped right up through here on this side right here. No scales there. They swallow their food head first, and down inside their mouth are two orange pads way down in like that at the beginning of their throat, and they have little angular teeth on them. If you touch those teeth with your finger, it'll grab your finger and pull your finger down into their mouth. That's how they swallow their food. Now we'll save this weak bait here. I'm gonna get another bait out of the bucket. That's pretty neat strike action there. We'll see if we can catch that fish, and I'll show you what made those marks on that shiner. We'll throw it out there and see if we can get that fish to hit again. It seems to be a lot of fish heading that way as soon as that bait hits the water. All right, let's go at this. Now I kind of want to get an idea of where my shiner is and what he's doing. By holding that rod tip up, it gives you a feel. There's your shiner running over here from the fish. Whenever they come up like that, that means there's a fish underneath him. There's something just hit at him right there. I don't know if it got him or not. Let's tighten up and see. Yeah, it did get him. All right, now I start to feel the fish. You can see the weight of the fish on my rod tip there. Now I go on down a little bit and then rear back on the hook set. Real good and hard like that, and try to keep him tight. Nice hook set. And a nice bass. I got this one the other day. The other one I didn't get, did I? In fact, I missed a couple. That's all right though. All right, now I'll show you what made those marks on that last shiner I was talking to you about. Okay. Now he's hooked real deep again here. We'll just have to reach on in there and unhook him. We got him laying here in the water, so he's not getting any slime knocked off of him. Huh, there's one feeding on that crippled shiner right there. In fact, that's a shiner that the bass spit out. Not even the one I caught him with. That's one he ate earlier, one laying there in the water. All right, now see if we can get here a picture of these two grooves, those two orange pads way down in the throat of the bass there. There's one there and one there. All right, those were what made the two marks that were on the tail of the shiner on that last strike we had. They swallow all their food head first, so it gives you an idea that whole shiner was all the way down in the stomach of that bass, but yet I didn't get him on the hook set. Sometimes you just don't get him. He was spitting it out right at the moment that I was jerking it because he sensed something was wrong. And if you were to feel those with your finger, those two marks way down, those two bar pads, they're real rough, like real rough sandpaper. You can see how they contract and move. See how he grabbed and hold my finger like that? See that like that? And that's what pulls their food down inside them and holds it down inside them like that. Another nice 2.5 pounder there. We'll let her grow up to be a bigger one. See you, fishy. Okay. We'll see if we can catch another fish. We'll just kind of keep fishing until the fish stop biting. It's usually like what I tell somebody, like my wife, tell her I'll be home in a couple hours. It really is, I'll be home when the fish stop biting. It's hard to pick an exact time, you know, especially when you're fishing. All right, we'll check the hook, check the line. Another thing you want to always check is the point of that hook. Now, I noticed that the point here has been bent a little bit. It's not as sharp as it was before, so I'm going to try to bend that tip back down again where it's straight. There, it's better. One way to check hooks for sharpness is you put it on your fingernail like this, and if you pull real hard and it feels like it's going to stick right through your fingernail, it's sharp. If it slides across your finger, it's not very sharp. You want it to the point that you're worried about pulling it because it might go through your fingernail. That's a good sharp hook. We're ready to go. They've been hitting in close, they've been hitting out farther. We're going to try one of these out farther ones. We're still looking for that 8, 10 pounder, 12 pounder maybe. We'll see what happens. Okay, I didn't notice any fish chasing my bait out there right at that moment. So sometimes when I'll kind of tighten up on him a little bit and give him just a little pull just to get him swimming a little bit. See if I can detect any nervousness from my shiner. That tells me whether there's any fish around him or not. It's one thing about live bait fishing with the native wild shiners. Now your hatchery shiners, the ones you buy in most of the bait shops, ooh, there's a strike. Shiner came up to the top right there. That means there's something underneath him. Ooh, he's after him out there, chasing him. Shiner just jumped out of the water. He's swimming there. He's running from the fish. And the fish might have got him there. Nope, he didn't. Oh, he got him that time. Okay, lock it in gear. Let that fish pull on that rod tip and then set the hook. Oh boy, that's a good one. Keep him tight here, Bob. That's a good one. Holy cow, folks. Man, this sucker's pulling. Holy cow. He's pulling some drag. I got to keep this one tight now. These are barbless hooks, so I don't want to lose this fish. I'd much rather show him to you. Working him in here. Oh, that's a pretty fish there. Another good jump. Just try to keep that hook into that fish because they'll slide right out without that barb in it. All right, I think we got her wore out a little bit here. Turn her around here and slide her on in, hooked right in the corner of the mouth, just perfect. Oh, that's a nice bass there. Oh, yes. There's a dandy Florida bass for you. Oh, I did mention we're in Florida, didn't I? Look at that fish. Oh, that fish, look how long that fish is. From my knee on up almost to my chest. You know, a good 2-foot bass. Fish is a good 8-pound fish, just a beautiful chunk. These fish seem to be real well fed in this lake. I say that because their heads are small and their bodies are big. I notice sometimes I fish in lakes where their heads are big and their bodies are longer and thinner. I don't think there's enough food in that lake for the fish, but these fish seem to be real fed and healthy in this lake. Well, that's just a pretty fish. I mean, just perfect. Well, I think we'll have to let her go. Probably even get another bait out here and see if we can get another one. Who knows, there might be one bigger. What a pretty fish. That's the fun of catching them when you can let them go again. Oh, okay, Bassie. Right here. We'll see you. Look at her laying there. Isn't she so pretty? Turn her over like that and just let her go. And away she goes. Oh, that was fun. We better do that again. Oh. Check her line here. Starting to breathe hard. I set the hook in that one. That was a solid fish there. I knew that when I hit her. And the line's got one little nick way down there. You know, but if I was with a client today, I'd retie that for him. But since it's just me, I think I'll just go ahead and put another bait on the hook while they're still hitting. I want to mention to you a little bit about the bait we're using. These are wild shiners caught by people who go out into the local waters, the lakes and the rivers, and they bait up certain areas and they throw a net and they catch them. These are the natural forage of the bass, and other fish also eat the shiners. And now most of the shiners that you can buy in your local bait shops where you live are your hatchery shiners. Now those are raised under controlled conditions in square-like pits, fed continuously, and they have no fear of a predator. So when you cast them out there, they just kind of lay there in the water, and like a bass will come right up to them. And if that bait fish doesn't react and try to take off and get away from that bass, lots of times that bass won't be stimulated to strike him. And boy, that's a big difference. So what I suggest to a lot of people where they can't get wild shiners is they can use bluegill and sunfish. We call them brim down here in Florida. But you have to check into your state laws. The laws in most states are that you can use a brim or a bluegill sunfish for a bait fish, but it cannot be caught in a net. It has to be caught on a hook and line. So what you want to do is take some worms and go small hooks and catch yourself up about a dozen bluegill, and then do the same thing we're doing here, and bass will eat them just the same way they'll eat that shiner when you put them on a hook. And so I just wanted to mention that because I know that people say, well, I can't get wild shiners up north, but you can get bluegill, and they'll eat those just as much. Now, the quality of the bait is another thing. We just had a bass hit a shiner. It was a real weak shiner, and he spit it back out. It's laying right here in the water. And it's been laying there the whole time while we've been catching fish. But the fish haven't taken it. Now a lot of people think, well, bass will take that old dead beat up bait. But there's proof that they want that live bait. That bait's been laying there for a half an hour or longer and nothing's come up and take it. But now when I take the fresh one out of the bucket that hits the water and takes off real quick, he'll eat that one. So you want good quality bait when you're fishing with live bait. Now my line's got too many nicks in it again, so I'm gonna take a break here real quick and retie that. Now we'll pitch a fresh shiner right out here next to that old weak shiner laying there on the surface. See if we can get something to take it. Oh yeah, he got it already. See if we can get him. Now we just threw that one right next to that old weak shiner laying there on the surface. An old bass come up and ate that fresh one. Now that's what I was talking about, the difference of a weak bait versus a good healthy live bait. He didn't even hesitate to hit this. He just jumped right in there and grabbed it. Now it's a big difference in bait. So you always want to make sure you have good, lively, fresh bait if you can. All right, we'll get another one out there and throw it out there and see if we can get a bigger fish. One thing I want to mention, I always like to bring this up. My father taught me a lot about bass fishing, and a lot of it I learned on my own, and a lot of I read in magazines and watched on fishing shows, and oh, I think I got another bite. Let's see. Nope, he doesn't have it yet. My shiner's getting nervous. I could see him start to run. My father always told me, he says, son, he says, you got to keep your bait in the water. He says, that's how you catch fish. And that's one tip I always like to tell people when I do a lot of I do a lot of fish lectures, you know, for different fishing clubs and for business clubs. And one thing I always mention is what my dad told me. He says, son, you got to keep your bait in the water. And a lot of people do spend too much time running around. The secret of catching fish, of course, is learning where fish are. And that comes with a lot of fishing practice. Now, of course, in this lake, we know that this is all the bigger this lake is, so the fish are going to be somewhere around. You don't have to, you don't have to travel all around 10, 15, 20 miles looking for them. You know they're right here. But when you're fishing on your large reservoirs and you're fishing in your big tournaments, the stuff that the fellows tell you on these fishing shows and in your magazines about how to find fish and different ways to locate fish, it's really important to try to key in on what they're talking about, because they are very knowledgeable fishermen. And if you want to learn a lot about fishing, you got to get out of your same old habit of going out to the same spot with your favorite lure and catching fish. You know, like just going out there and, you know, like I got a little drop off or a little point out there in the lake. I can take my plastic worm, I go out there any evening and I catch 5 or 6 fish and come back home, and you're not learning the multitude of ways to catch bass that you can, you know, because some given days, well, my shiner swam all the way back in here to the bank and he was in the grass. Oh, there's a small one after him right there. See him chasing him? We're going to go back out here and see if we can catch a big one. Well, I'm telling you, just throw it back out there again. It's good to try these different things that these people are talking to you about and that you read about. That's how my father, when he was fishing the national tournaments back in the 60s with Bill Dance and Tom Mann and Roland Martin and Jimmy Houston, and he'd come home with a different method and a different technique and a different lure for me to try. And I couldn't wait to get out and try this stuff that he was telling me that he learned fishing these tournaments. And these professional fishermen are giving you the same tips on TV, but just because you go out once and it doesn't work, don't give up on it. Try to figure out what type of situation, what type of structure, what time of year, and these methods will catch fish, or they wouldn't be catching fish by doing that. So it's really important to try to be very versatile. If you're not catching fish one way, try another way. Ooh, there's a good bite. Tighten up on him and sit there. Whoa! Oh my gosh! Bob missed one there. That was a good one. I don't know if he got that hook set on film or not, but I almost fell over backwards when I missed that fish. We got to get another bait back out there. He got my bait and I didn't get him, so we better try again. put this old big bait out there, let him swim around a little bit. Get back to talking to you about some of the things I've learned live bait fishing that has helped me with my artificial fishing. And some of the things we've mentioned already, but one thing I just realized that I hadn't mentioned to you is a lot of tournaments. I've won a lot of local tournaments. And I've done real well in some of the national tournaments too, in the BASS circuit. And one thing, the secret of catching fish, of course, is fishing where fish are and being able to find the fish when you're out in these big impoundments or on these rivers. But once you find the fish, you want to have confidence in that area. And of course, if you're fishing one of the larger tournaments, you're going to have a chance to pre-fish the tournament 2 or 3 days before the tournament. If you're fishing a local tournament too, you ought to get out there and fish it for a couple of days before, just to make sure that you've got enough confidence in that area that you're going to be able to catch 5, 6, or 7 real good quality fish, because that's all you need in a tournament. If you can catch 10, 11, 12 fish, that's good. You can cull your 5 biggest ones out of your 10, 11, or 12. But I was starting to mention having confidence in the spot that you're fishing. Now, the fish, I've noticed, there are days that, of course, they're going to feed the whole time you're out there, but those days are not very often. Most of the time, you're going to get some action for a little while, and then they're going to shut down a little bit, and then you're going to get some action again, and they're going to shut down a little bit. And if you know there's enough fish there, you can keep working those same fish. I've done it in tournaments and never cranked up that big engine all day long and won quite a few tournaments by never leaving the fish. Even though they weren't biting, I stuck with those fish. And then stuck there long enough, I've changed the speed of my retrieve, the direction of the retrieve, the depth I was fishing a little bit, the color I was fishing a little bit. And I'll keep picking up a few fish every now and then, because I know those fish are there. That's why I'm still fishing there. And that's something I just want to pass on to a lot of people. And I've learned that from my live bait fishing. I've come into areas and fished them for a while and they've quit. Like the feeding here is starting to slow down a little bit now. But that doesn't mean these fish have gone anywhere. But what I'll do is I'll leave an area. If I'm out in a bigger body of water or on the river or on a big reservoir, I'll leave and go to a couple other spots that I know are holding fish. And I'll come back to the place where I was catching most of my fish, and then they're ready to feed again. And that's just from knowing that those fish are there and just giving them a little bit of a break. But if I was fishing a tournament, I wouldn't give them a break. I'd stay right with them. I'd just keep changing my lures and waiting for them to start feeding again, because they will. I've done it many times and done good. I'll put another fresh bait on, see if we can catch a fish. But we might take a break and give you a little bit more here right before the evening and see if we can get into a couple of big ones. We'll see what these fish here do in the next couple of shiners. Because we've had a tremendous fishing day already, and it's been right in the middle of the day, right with a real high sun. Fairly clear water. I'm keeping that tip held up in the air like that so I can feel what's happening with my bait. I can feel the bait fish swimming. I can actually feel when he gets nervous, when he starts vibrating and shaking. If you hold your tip down here like this, you can't feel a thing. That's why they made these graphite rods, because they're so sensitive to touch. You can feel any movement. Like if you're plastic worm fishing, you can feel that bait crawling on the bottom. You can feel when a little fish bumps it, or a big fish. Just to give you the feel of what's happening while you're fishing. It's so important to know what's going on. You got to be right out there in the water with your lure or with your bait. Ooh, there's one after it right there. And he got it. He's carrying it sideways in his mouth right now. I can see him take off carrying it. Let's see. I believe by now he should have it swallowed. Let's tighten up on him. Feel the tension. Go on down with him like that, and then set the hook. Yep, he had it turned. When he first grabbed it, I could see that he was carrying it sideways. Oh, this isn't a very big one here. A little 2-pounder. Nice fish though. Okay, take that one off. We'll let her go. and we'll get back to fishing again here in a little bit. Throw him out there a little farther. Take him a little longer to get back. There's a cripple shiner swimming there on the surface, and there's nothing messing with him. I think things have quieted down a little bit here. We might have to take a break here for a little bit. Well, now the bait's starting to get a little bit nervous. I'd sure like to get one of those old big fish. Ooh, now there's something messing with him a little bit now. Ooh, there I think he got him. Tighten up on him here. Get a good feel. There, he's hitting at him. You can see him jerking that old bait. Come on, take it. Come on. I hope he didn't get it off the hook already. I don't feel any, oh no, he didn't get it yet. Let's see if he got it. Tighten up on him. Saw the swirl from the fish. I think he came and took it. When I pulled it real hard like that, I tried to trick him. Let's see if I did. See if he's got it. Ooh, where he wants it. He hit at it again. He's thinking about it. He's still after it. I can see the roll of the water. Every time I move my bait, the fish is right there thinking about taking it. Just not real sure about it. Well, I started to mention I'd like to get one. There he is. Ooh, that feels like a good one. That rod tight. Get good tension on it. Fish! Set that hook! Oh, that's not a big fish. That's why he was hitting at it and wasn't getting it, because he was just a little fish. I was starting to mention a little bit ago before I started to get that bite about wanting to get a big old 10-pound fish. And boy, I've caught a lot of them over the years. So far, my partners and I figure we don't have them actually written down, but I average probably 30 to 50 fish each year over 10 pounds. And I've been guiding for over 20 years and shiner fishing for 30 years. So we figured that I've caught up over 700 bass over 10 pounds so far. Probably 90% of the clients that fish with me on a regular basis year after year all have 10-pound plus fish. So that's a pretty good record on catching good double-digit fish. They're hard to come by. You got to put forth a lot of work to catch fish like that. I'd like to catch one like that right now for you. We'll try again. All right, these baits are the ones that I had in the bucket for a while here before we took a short break. They're not as lively as a real good fresh one. And the fish just kind of seem to be looking at them more than they are eating them. Because a real good bait is a necessity when you're live bait fishing. And we'll try again here. Now there's another roll right there. He went right out there towards it. I could see him. Now the main factor in him not taking it would probably be the quality of the bait. Let's see if he gets it. If not, I'm going to run up and get about 5 or 6 more real good fresh ones. Ooh, there's a bite. A pretty good fish there. Now that was a little fresher bait there. That's a pretty nice bass. Yeah, he hit that one pretty good. Another nice 4-pound plus fish. Pretty bass. We'll throw her back. Try to get some more here in the evening. See if we can get you a few. Watch you catch some fish. I know I'm having fun doing it. I hope you're having fun watching it. We'll get another bait, try again. If you fish a lot, as much as I do anyway, you'll realize sometimes that early in the morning and in the evening are not always the best times to fish. Sometimes the middle of the day is the best time. And I find that every month, all throughout the year, I'll have great days, good days, fair days, and slow days. For all of Florida, you really don't have a wintertime slowdown like you do up north because our weather is warm all year round. And every month, even in the middle of summer, I'll have great, good, big fish fishing, just like spring of year, fall, winter, summer. Like I said, you have great days and good days and fair days and slow days. And it's not always the same time of day. It'll change from day to day. One morning might be better, one evening might be better. The only way to catch fish consistently, pretty nice ball right there. To catch fish consistently is to fish hard and keep your bait in the water. There's one thinking about eating it right there. Let's see if we can get him to do a little more than think about it. All right, whenever I'm fishing and the shiner starts to get real nervous or he starts to make a hard run, always try to make sure that he's got plenty of line so he can take off and run, and he doesn't have to fight the resistance of the line pulling through the water. What I tell my clients when they're fishing with me, the more nervous the shiner gets, the looser you make him, so he can react and dart and turn and jump and dive. Oh yeah, tighten up on him. Oh shucks, boy, I had a nice fish there. I don't know if could you hear that line singing through the water? I don't know how come I missed him. Doggone it. That was the one we're looking for. Oh man. Doggone. As you can see, when the hook came out, there was a scale stuck on the end of that hook. I should have showed you. The hook scraped across the body of the shiner, and instead of sticking into the fish, it raked across the body of the shiner. And the hook, it bent the hook wide open. You can see how it bent out, and the hook tip has been bent. See how there's no more, I can't even make it stick into my fingernail at all. There's no more point on that hook. I don't know if you can see the end of it's bent out or not, but we need a new hook. That hook won't catch a fish anymore. We need to change. And that one got away, and that's a nice fish. I have to try again. Doggone it. Over the years, I've been featured in a lot of national magazine articles. I've been in just about all the fishing magazines. Had a couple of shows on ESPN. All on my live bait techniques. Most of them are on my moving water techniques. I fish a lot of the river and the current. Today though, we're just fishing this little lake back here. I do a little bit of that too. Ooh, that might be a bite. Shiner's running. Don't know which way he's going, but he is running. That's a bite. That's a nice fish too. I had to really make sure I got this fish. Missed a couple. Oh, good jumping fish. Strong fish. Okay, fishy. Not quite the one we had on before, but a pretty nice fish. This one turned right around when I set the hook. That other one didn't turn around. That other one just kept right on going when I set the hook. You know what? The only thing I can tell you we're going to do is let this 5-pounder go and see if we can catch one about twice this size. Ooh, there's something's after it right there. We'll see if he got it. Tighten up on him, keep that tip up. Yeah, that's a fish. Reel on down and set the hook. That's a pretty good fish. Oh, what a jump. Nice jump, bass. Thank you. We appreciate that. Got one more jump in you there. Ooh, got some good runs in you. Yeah, another jump in you. All right, come on in here. We'll let you go. Not quite the one we're looking for yet, but I have never seen a bad one. Some are just a little bigger than others. I just enjoy catching fish. Hook pretty deep, but I believe that old barbless hook will come right out of there. Well, we have a big bait out there. Fishing's been slowing down. I think our day's kind of coming to an end. I've enjoyed producing this video. I hope you all enjoy watching it. And I hope to make a few more. I've been wanting to try to get a 10-pound plus fish on one of these videos. I think we might have had it today, but I didn't quite get it hooked. So we might have to wait till next time. But if you want any more information about my guide service, I have a website on the internet, and my address is www.bobstonewater.com. And I'm listed in quite a few of the fishing magazines. And I have a toll-free number that you can reach me at. I work out of my home, and my number is 800-835-2851. The tough thing to do is bring that bait in out of the water, because you know you can't catch one then, but you wouldn't know that there'll always be another day in fishing. And when you let them go, you know that they're always out there for another day. And that's why I like fishing so much. And I hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time. That's good enough for me. Hi, I'm Bob Stonewater, the owner of the property here, and I talked to you about living on a good fishing lake full of bass. We've come down here to the lake. I wanted to show you some of the fish that are in the lake. We're going to throw a few wild shiners out. That's one of their main forages that they eat, and you should be able to see the fish come up and strike these, and then we're going to go ahead and catch one just to let you know what the size of them are. The fish will range from, gosh, 2 to 10 pounds, even 12 pounds in this lake. There's a lot of 7, 8, and 9 pounders. But let's go ahead and throw one out here and see if they want to hit it or not. Thanks. Oh, man. I haven't fished for these fish for quite a while. I usually don't put hooks in the shiners, but I wanted to just show you what the size of the fish are that are in the lake. When I do use a hook, I use a barbless hook so it doesn't hurt the fish, and we practice catch and release. That way your kids, your friends, your relatives, anybody will be able to come down here and enjoy these fish for years and years, because they'll be here as long as you keep putting them back. And oh, there's one. He got it right there. Let's try to hook him and see. Oh, we got him. He's a good one too, boy. Holy cow, what a fish. And I don't have a barb on the hook, so I got to really play her easy here and keep her good and tight. We don't want to lose her once you be able to look at her. And another jump. Whoa. I think we're getting a little bit worn out here. Oh, look at that fish. Isn't that pretty? Okay, I'm going to come down here. I have a stairs on the side of the deck here, so if you ever have a canoe or anything, or a little boat that you want to come right on up to the water here, or if you want to land a big bass that you just caught. Oh my gosh. Look at this fish. Holy cow. This is one we just caught here. This is a good 10-pound plus fish. I'm not going to go to any trouble to weigh or anything. It's about 25 inches by about 20 inches. Just a beautiful Florida bass. And as you can see, the lake's got pretty many in there, so this is kind of like a little added feature. Now with this barbless hook, the fish, it just comes right out of there. No harm to the fish at all. With a barbless hook, that would have ripped a hole in her stomach, and you wouldn't want that. That is just one big, beautiful bass. All right, we'll go ahead and let her go now. All right, that was fun. I hope you all get a chance to enjoy that yourselves one day, because there's no better treat than bass fishing than catching a 10-pound plus fish.